Welcome back to episode 3 of my series called How to Use. Today we're going to be going over Pale Oak, Mangrove, Crimson, and Warped planks. So let's start off with the Pale Oak. Pale Oak is really good. Really good because this block is a wonderful neutral when building in like typical fantasy builds. Like it just pairs well with the darker colors as well, like it goes well with its unstripped version. It goes well with like some deep slate per se, where it'll just fit in. It also goes really well with some spruce, you know, because it is just, it's a really good block for when you need a white or off-white in this case. And the bark version, the log, is also really good because, you know, look, it is a very interesting texture, which adds a lot of variety to builds, as well as this shade of gray is a really useful shade because it pairs well with pretty much any block. So on to gradients, we have the same one from the first episode of this simple white to brown. Then we have white to black and white to pink. I wouldn't really use the white to pink one because I just don't see much use in it, but it could also go really well as like a nice roof design, but honestly it looks better when you kind of stop it there rather than you just keep going. And then, as I said before, it goes really well with deep slate, it goes well with spruce, and I like netherrack because red roofs are really fun. It also goes well with resin and its unstripped version, which is like what it is normally. And it also goes pretty well with amethyst and andesite. How did I blank on andesite? So right here we have the pale oak tree. I think looks pretty good, but the way I made it, I may have added too much leaves. I think if I were to remake it, I would make it more like outwards and the actual leaves way more flat and hanging down. But it still is a pretty good tree design. And we have our house here, which, like I showed earlier, with the resin and the unstripped version, they pair really nicely together. Like, this is just a really fun house design. Like, just looking at it, I would want to live in a house like this if I were starting a new world, like in a pale oak forest. That'd probably be hard to do, but I think this is really good. Now, moving on to Mangrove, we have simple block set. The red is a really nice red. It helps with the red gradients. It's nice. I like it. And the unstripped version, it's okay. I haven't really seen much use of it, but you can use it here and there. Alright, like I was talking about earlier, this is a really nice gradient from going from like a blackish red all the way up to a bright red. If you just take a step back and kind of unfocus your eyes, it looks really nice. You can also use the log version to create a nice green to brownish black thing. And you can also use it in a... I love these gradients where it's like from purple to yellow, because it always just looks wonderful and great. And Mangrove pairs really well with dark prismarine in the more Japanese style builds, as you can see over there. It also pairs well with blackstone and calcite, like in most Japanese builds. And also, this kind of fits for like barns, because Mangrove is really nice when it comes to barns. And then it also pairs really well with mud and spruce, like over there. And this is just the actual Japanese build one palette. The other one is for the barn. Alright, so we have the, I forget what they're called, but the little shrine archway things. That's always pretty good to do with Mangrove. And this tree, it's not really a realistic tree, but I think it looks really nice. Then over here we have like a little hobbit hole plus a house on the hill. I would add a lot more detail and texturing in a regular, like, normal one. I'd probably even add, like, some gradient here. But it does look pretty nice there, I do say. Moving on to Crimson. Crimson is really fun because it's not Crimson. This is not Crimson. This is like a purple. Let's see. Yeah, that I would never say that's Crimson. That is definitely a purple. But the bark, stem, whatever thing, actually is nice because since it has those red veins, it does get an actual crimson look from afar. As well as the animated version, and in most shader packs, they make it so that this actually glows, and that always looks really nice. Then for gradients, this one may look a little stupid up close, but as you start to step back, you can see how it starts to blend in. So this is more of a gradient you would use from a far away place. Here is simple purple to black, and then the one from before of the really good one. It really pairs well with this frog light, and over there you can already see how I'm setting it up. And yeah, it just pairs really well with these types of palettes. Just it with like a neutral and with two neutrals. So I modeled this tree off of like mushrooms kinda, because that's what these are supposed to be. I think I might want to add a little more to like the base here, but I think the trees are hard to design because there's no real life trees that look like it. So you just kind of have to go off mushrooms and stuff, but yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Then we have simple roof design, which has a gradient from cherry wood to mangrove. I think that looks really nice. And then we also have a little fantasy tower, which has the really cool gradient I was talking about earlier, which makes it so that it just looks really good, because I don't know how to describe it. It just looks fantasy to me. And then finally, we go on to Warped. Warped, it's this nice little blue tone, so that's really great for some builds. Like, I think it pairs really well with the Blackstone stuff. I think they go really well together because of how close they are in color. And just like I said before, the stem version has this nice pulsating kind of like look. And when you go from afar, it has a different color to it. It's not the way that crimson is like, it only looks like crimson on the stem. It actually looks, well, I wouldn't say it looked like a warp because warped isn't a color, but it's blue. So it pairs really nice in this, my bad. So it pairs really well in this gradient where it's going towards a sculpt. I also like it in this greenish brown gradient and just a getting lighter gradient. And like before, we have it with a light source, we have it with some neutrals because it always looks good with those neutrals. So this one I modeled after like another type of mushroom. I don't know their names, but it's like the cap mushroom kind of stuff where you can see it yourself. It has the little cap. Then I just kind of copy pasted the other builds because of how similar these blocks are, that they're pretty much interchangeable just because how they work of the fantasy ones from a different realm. They just kind of fit well in each other's spots. I did, however, have to change this to dark oak because having Skulk next to Deep Slate would not look good, especially because Deep Slate is right here, so it would look kind of messy. But this is our last installment of the How to Use series covering planks, unless they add another one, which I will cover when the snapshot will release. But I have now finished all of the wood types, so now it's gonna be time to go on the stones. So I hope you enjoyed. Leave comments below for suggestions, and goodbye.